Hey everyone, Reaper here again with another video. This is going to be my 10th anniversary video, which may not seem like a big deal to everybody else, but it is for me. I can't believe it's been 10 years since I joined YouTube. Just the other day, I was looking at some of my older comic book haul videos and just, woof, I've come a long way from making those videos. I mean, not a super long way when it comes to quality, but kind of a long way. But that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Usually whenever I do these anniversary videos, oh, it's my 5th year, my 8th year, my whatever year on YouTube, I usually put it together with a comic book haul. Now, there'll be a comic book haul in a couple of weeks, so it's sort of be my 10th anniversary comic book haul of sorts. We could always do that. But I thought I would make this 10th anniversary a little bit different. There's, of course, I'm going to show books. I have a lot of books to show, but I categorize them to just sort of go over my journey as a comic book collector, not just over these last 10 years on YouTube, but me as a collector for over the last 30 years. Now, yeah, I talk a lot about the last 10 years of me being on YouTube because when I came on YouTube, it kind of coincided with me coming back into the hobby. You know what I mean? It's not like I've been in the hobby constantly over the last 30 years, 20 years, whatever it is. And then later, 10 years ago decided to, hey, what the hell, I'll do YouTube videos. No, they kind of coincided. As soon as I came back into the hobby, I started watching YouTube videos, and then shortly thereafter I started making my own YouTube videos. So that's why it kind of goes together, So I figured I would just talk a lot about that and show some books over the years, and categorize them. But before we even get to showing the books, since this is a 10-year anniversary, I wrote down a couple of things that I have to take a look at because I would forget. But I wanted to cover, since this is an anniversary video. Number one, the first thing I want to talk about is I wanted to say thank you for all of you that have been watching over the years. I've been doing this because not only I enjoy the hobby, I enjoy interacting with all of you. And for this first part, I wanted just want to say thank you for all of you that I have met over the years. Now, there's too many to name. I'm pretty sure I'd forget somebody, and that someone might be upset. And no offense, but I wanted to say special thank you for those of you that out there watching this that I've interacted with, and I've been interacting with for a period of time, or even up to this point, and got some names down. First off, some of these people that I've interacted with over the years that I'm grateful for is, of course, people like ETA Nick, where we used to have the show, The Dudes. I enjoyed that show. It was a lot of fun. For I forget how long we did it. A year and a half, something like that. It may not seem like a whole lot of time, but I had a lot of fun. I could speak from my own personal experience. I had a lot of fun getting to know Nick, but it's not just Nick. Getting to know Patrick, whom I've met, right? We've met a couple of times. Me and Patrick, who's Luther Manning. Moving from ETA Nick to Luther Manning. We met, he came down to Doylestown, Pennsylvania, where we met, and then we eventually met up again at Heroes Con in 2018. And, that was really cool. And I've text with Patrick every now and then. We exchange gifts and all that stuff, so we're still in contact. Not only ETA Nick and Patrick, of course, Dr. Von Chilla, John, and we don't talk as much as we used to, but again, he was part of the Dudes show, so it was always nice to chat up with him and get his take on comic collecting and all those things, because he's been collecting for so long and he's got exquisite tastes when it comes to collecting, in particular comic book covers. I also have to say a big thank you to Mike. No, Mike, Patrick's friend. He's also my friend too, and we stay in contact a lot. I constantly buy from him, and I saw him a couple of months ago at a con up in North Jersey. So it's always nice to see him, and hopefully see him again too. So Again, it's just another person I've met through being on YouTube over these 10 years. I've met Amazing Murphinator, another Mike. So I saw him a couple months ago, the same convention I met the other Mike. I know a lot of Mikes in this hobby, a lot. So sometimes it gets a little confusing on who's who. But we'll call this Mike Murph. Great meeting him. I got to meet him a couple of times over the years, and he's always been a big supporter and a nice person to chat with. Andoni, who doesn't make videos anymore, he used to make videos years ago. I've met him a couple of times and chatted with him a couple of times, friends on Facebook, all that stuff. So it's always nice, to chat with him whenever I do. I don't do it often, but just another great name and person that I've met here. A couple others that off my top of my head. Matt, he knows who he is. He doesn't make YouTube videos. He's mainly active on Instagram. The guy from New Jersey that I've met a couple of times, and through YouTube, through Instagram. So it's really nice meeting him and getting to know him a bit. And finally, Tony Toth, who makes videos on Instagram, is another great, one of the later YouTubers that I've met. About 5 years ago. Really nice guy. Pre-code monster on Instagram, always has great pre-code books. And Tony's probably going to come up again later on this video when I start showing some books, talking about how my collecting has changed, how my viewpoint has changed. So he's going to come up again too. But he's another one of the people I met. And then of course I met Jimmy C. And I've met AG Surfer, the New York Warriors, Erod, Manny, Big E, a lot of great people. Boston Comicaholic Julian, another nice guy that I've met over the years, the first few years I was doing YouTube. So the list goes on and on. So thank you not only to everybody, but to these individuals in particular that I've interacted with on many occasions, not just one occasion. And of course, there are other supporters out there that I have not met for, many, many different reasons, that are always commenting on my channel, that are always there, always giving me support. I really appreciate people like Comics with Bonics. He's also active on Instagram. Captain UK's always been somebody that's dropped a very, very nice line to me from across the pond, so I very much appreciate that. Curtis Cameron and Michael Tan, John Zeno, White Nova, Ricky Todd, and of course Man from Beantown. Ben. I haven't met him yet, but he's always been very, very nice, and he's been there for many, many years. And there's Aaron Smith. Again, the list goes on and on. If I haven't mentioned your name, it's not because I'm purposely keeping you off. It's because Semper Fi Comics, remember him? He's another great person that I've met, actually. So many people have been there for me and helped me in certain situations over the years, and just really been good to me. So thank you to everybody. Last part of the thank you. I know everyone's like, oh, I want to see books and stuff. Don't worry, I'll get to the books. I know we're 8 minutes in, but this is important to me, to acknowledge the people that I've met, the people that have kept me going, the people that make me want to keep making videos. This is important too. I could show the books all I want, but if no one is there to talk to about them, it loses a little bit of importance. It's good to chat about these things. But I've mentioned this before. Now, these are some of the people that have inspired me to make YouTube videos. Now, I think a lot of them, there's only a few here, and I think, there's only a few here that really, really inspired me. It's outside some of the names that I mentioned, like ETA Nick, outside someone like him, who I later had developed somewhat of a friendship with. But these are some of the guys that have inspired me to make YouTube videos all the way in the beginning. And again, I don't think they're active anymore. I don't think they're active on Instagram either. But I don't know. Remember Lightning? I forget the numbers after his name. But there was Lightning that would always make these great. He was like one of the early YouTubers. I think he was doing it a couple years before I was doing it. But I remember seeing his videos and seeing his hauls. He was very inspirational. Mercenaut was inspirational too. I think everyone knows who Mercenaut is, right? He was a great YouTuber. Oh, he is a great YouTuber. He's still on. Sorry, I was still thinking in past tense that Lightning's not here. No, Mercenaut. I think he was also friends with Lightning, and a couple of the other guys that I'm going to mention. Hero Hunter. Right? He's the one that introduced me to making a comic book wall. If you go back, this is going back 10 years now, I think, or almost 10 years. He created this massive comic book wall. And he had the wall, I think, painted a certain blue, which is very much like the wall that, well, you can't really see the wall behind me because the place is cluttered. It's like crazy. But he had like the superhero colors. So that gave me a bit of inspiration because if you ever see my comic book wall, which is nothing compared to Hero Hunters, it has a bit of red, the blue and the red, almost like Superman and all that stuff. So he's definitely another one. And then there was Omega Shin Ryu Ken. He's another one that inspired me. And then there was another guy that stopped YouTube a long time ago. I think it was Spidey Fan CT. I think he was kid from California. I think he got out of the hobby a long time ago. But he was another one that I was interacting with. And these were the guys that first started liking and commenting on my videos. And then I started getting all these subscribers over the summer of 2014, late summer 2014. So they kind of brought me in and were very nice. And a bunch of others too helped me along the way and supported me. So thank you, everybody. Okay, now we're gonna get to the books, right? Let's show how I mentioned that this is like a video my collecting over the years, over not just these last 10 years, although it'll mainly be concentrated on these last 10 years since I came back to the hobby. Let's see if we can go back a little bit farther. So I picked out a bunch of categories to show you of books over the years, books that I've had in my collection since 2014, signature books, upgrades, pre-code books, big Marvel hitters. What am I missing? When I came back to the hobby in 2014, those books that are still here, inspirational books, stuff like that, Batman books. I think I got it all covered. So just bear with me. So now let's see if I can categorize everything. We're gonna start with the old school books that got me into collecting. And we're going to start off with these two. Now, this is a bit of a cheat, okay, because these are not the originals from 1993. However, everything else past these two books in this little category, in this pile, are originals from 1993, 1994. But I had to make an exception with these because I cannot ignore talking about these, because this was really the start of me becoming a collector. Now, I know I made the collector video many, many years ago showing the Batman book and the Tales from the Crypt reprints. That's all fine and dandy, but I wasn't really a collector back then, so you're not going to see them in this video. But we are going to start with this. Excuse me, not amazing. Well, we'll get to the Amazing Spider-Man soon. Uncanny X-Men 141 and 142. Now, these are upgrades. These are upgrades. I upgraded these in 2014. Okay, so I upgraded these when I came back to the hobby, okay? But the originals I got from St. Mark's Comics in the Village in New York back in March of 1993. And it was around the X-Men cartoon. The X-Men cartoon helped bring me into comic book collecting, along with the Marvel Masterpieces by Joe Jusko, who was one of my favorite artists, and I got a chance to meet him, which was great. I'll see if I could attach the picture here in this video, like right now. Okay, his wife took that picture, and I went up and told him, you were the one that got me into comics. And he was like, oh, really? And, you tell these guys these things, and they're like, oh, thanks. He's like, and then he went to his wife and says, oh, I was the one that got I was the one that got him into comics. And she looked like, oh, that's nice. It was great. And so she took the picture. But he was very inspirational to me from getting into this hobby. But these were the two books that started me into collecting, where I decided to become a collector. And it started with X-Men. Really did. All right. Now let's get into some other books that I got in the early part of 1993, spilling into 1994, okay? And these are the ones that are still in my collection from that time period, all right? So here we have X-Men 266. I got this in. It was at a mall in Jersey City with that guy. I told you in my history of comic book collecting, which came out in 2017. That guy Gilbert. Here we have Uncanny X-Men 129. Got this in a comic convention. Don't remember where. Probably in the Woodbridge area. Uncanny X-Men, these are nice copies too. Uncanny X-Men 130, first appearance of Dazzler, also came from a comic book convention. Amazing Spider-Man, got this at the end of 1993. My father bought this for me at a convention in Woodbridge at the Budget Motor Lounge. It's still with me. This is probably early 1994. Amazing Spider-Man 238. I've always loved the Hobgoblin. I've always loved this book. This was an expensive book back then. Here we are, The New Mutants, 87. First appearance of Cable. Another one that I got for $8. That took me a while, in 1994. New Mutants, 98. Got this back in 1994. I'm going to jump a little bit. No, actually, I'll show this one first, and then I'll end the whole original books segment and move on to coming back into the hobby of 2014. February 1994, picked up this book. Later got this graded a couple of years ago. Amazing Spider-Man 129, first appearance of the Punisher. One of my favorite books of all time, and the first big, pricey book I purchased. Last one, I got this in 1996. That's when I started to move away from collecting. All these other things started happening in my life. But this was one of the last, and I'm probably going to upgrade this one, like I mentioned in the last video. X-Men number 12, the first appearance of the Juggernaut. I think it's a 5.0. We'll see what happens when I get it graded, see who's right. I think it's a 5.0. But I'd like to get something a little higher. But this was the last book, or at least one of the last books. That's not necessarily true, because I think a month later, I wound up getting Amazing Spider-Man number 20, the first appearance of the Scorpion. So I don't have that one to show right now. It's tucked away. But these are the ones I just wanted to show that have been in my collection, aside from the 140, X-Men 141, 142, that have been in my collection for decades. All right, now we're going to move on to the next category, when I came back into the hobby, 2014. Here we go. Okay, when I came back into the hobby, it was largely, I was watching the Comic Book Man on TV. I've been watching them for years. I would watch them after The Walking Dead. And, you know, Walking Dead has some part in it too that started bringing me back into comics. But so did that show. All right. And then I discovered YouTube, like I said earlier in this video, and I saw some YouTubers. And I was like, oh, I should do this. So that's when I decided to start making YouTube videos. But I started getting into that show, and I said, you know, maybe I visited the store. And I said, hey, I want to start maybe collecting. And I went to my very first convention. And when I went there, one of the first books that I wanted to get, even though I didn't get it, but the first book that was on my mind to get, so kind of like the book that I forgot to get back in 1993, 1994, 1995, 1996, and even a little bit of 1997, was this one. Daredevil 131. I've always wanted this book. So when I came back into the hobby, when I went to that convention, I was saying, you know, maybe I could find myself a Daredevil 131. I did, and I wound up getting it like a month later off of eBay. That's not this copy. That copy had been sold, and I upgraded. But that was one of the books that I credit bringing me back into the hobby, oddly enough, right? And then it just started going crazy. Okay, so some of the other books I'll share that were in some of the earlier hauls. This one didn't make it into one of the earlier hauls. The next one did, but I'll show you this. This was the one that I got not long after I came back into the hobby. X-Men 94. The big book. I was like, oh man, I can't believe I have X-Men 94. I originally won an X-Men 94 on eBay back in 2001. For like $120. I don't remember the condition. It might have been a fine or 6.0, and I wound up not paying. I got kicked off of eBay, and then wound up signing up for eBay again like 6 months later, and I've been on ever since. But that was the book that got me kicked off of eBay with my old handle, my old account. Now, this was, I don't remember what comic book haul this was. This might have been comic book haul number 2. Maybe 1 or 2. I think it was 2, because I think comic book haul number 1 was mainly X-Men related. That had then there's this next book and an X-Men 4 in it. This is the one that I showed in Comic Book Haul number 2 back in, I think, August 2014, 10 years ago. This is going to get upgraded. It's a 6.0 CBCS. I'm going to see if I get a 7.5 CGC one day. We'll see what happens. But yeah, this goes back to 2014. Like I said, in Comic Book Haul number 1, this one appeared. It's still here. X-Men number 2, nice 6.5, beautiful 6.5. The only way I would get rid of this is if I got a 7.5. And I'm not actively looking for a 7.5. Here's another one that came from Comic Book Haul number 3. Remember that Halloween theme one? Still here. It's not going anywhere. Tomb of Dracula, number 10, first appearance of Blade. White pages. I should do a white page video. Although I can't imagine having that many white pages to make a super long video, but we'll see what happens. And here are some other books that I got from 2014 that I really want. I got plenty of books in 2014 that are still here in my collection. But I just forgot to highlight some of these because I've talked about them earlier on at length. NYX number 3. I remember I got this for like $45. Or did I pay $55? I don't remember. I want to get an upgrade of this and get rid of this one because I think this one's probably like an 8. Let's see if I get like a 9 or something like that, 9.2. But anyway, this was a book that I wanted to get when I came back. I found out that there was like a female Wolverine from playing the Marvel vs. Capcom games, and I was like, oh, I got to get that. And then I was like, oh my God, $45 for a modern book? That's crazy. Well, it's a little bit more than that now, right? I remember I really wanted to get the first appearance of Madman, and I went crazy trying to find it. I attempted to get this at the New York Comic Con 2014, but no one had it. But I wound up getting it shortly thereafter. I think I wound up purchasing this off of eBay on the train ride back from the New York Comic Con. Creatures of the Id, number 1. This is one of my favorite covers, and you can see this in my design, my art for my channel. Batman 227. This is a 6.0. I'll probably like to upgrade it one day, but still came back from, I think I got this in September of, I think it was September, October 2014. And the last one for the 2014, yeah, there's a ton of ones from 2014, but I just wanted to highlight a few. We have Marvel Spotlight number 5. First appearance of the Ghost Rider. Very cool. The next category we're going to go over is the New York Comic Con 2014. The New York Comic Con was very, very important for me because it was that first big con that I went to. And I just was in awe. And I came up with a list, and these are the books that I still have from that con. Some of the books I wound up selling, some of the books were upgraded and might appear in different categories throughout this video. I didn't want to put it in this one because, you know, that's not the particular copy that I got from the New York Con. But these are, and they're still here. So anybody remembers it was Comic Book Haul number 4, which was the New York Comic Con. You know, going over the last 10 years, New York Comic Con 2014 was Comic Book Haul number 4. This was the one, I think this was one of the first books I bought. Forever People number 1, first full appearance of Darkseid. I got Omega Men 3. I was looking for this. First appearance of Lobo. Now that I'm thinking about it, I forgot to, I still have it. The Wolverine, first appearance of Old Man Logan. I should have put that in this video, but I forgot. I still have it. This is another one that I went looking for. Edge of the Spider-Verse, number 2, first appearance of Spider-Gwen. Wound up getting that. Another one that I got from that con. That was a great con because, you know, it was one of those cons where I went there, I had a list, and I was able to get probably 90% of everything I wanted on that list. Creatures of the Id was on that list. No one had it. But I got most of them. Evil Ernie, number 1, first appearance of Evil Ernie, but more importantly, the first appearance of Lady Death. This was the big one from New York Comic Con 2014. There's one more after it, but this I think was one of the next one after was one of the last books I purchased because I was like, oh, well, let's see if I get something else. But this was the big one. This is the one I really went there for. But oddly enough, Comico or Kamiko Primer number 2, first appearance of Grendel. Bought this off of Gary Platt. Love this book. This is a book that I'm eventually sending to CGC. I'm predicting it's going to get a 9.2. So we'll see if I'm right. And the last book for this category that I got from the New York Comic Con, it wasn't the last book I got from that con. That last book I sold off and upgraded. It's going to appear in another category in this video. But this was the one that was right before it. Batman 234. First Bronze Age appearance of Two-Face. Right? Classic Neil Adams cover. A friend of mine owns the original cover to that from Neil Adams. So that's pretty cool. Now we're going to go to Batman. All right. Now, some of these books I purchased in 2014, my original copy. They have since been upgraded. And there are some books that are going to be absent from this that I still have. I'll talk about that at the end. So one of the big books that I originally got back in 2014 that I only recently upgraded was this one. Batman 232. I had a 7.5 copy, upgraded to a 9.0. Very cool. This was another one that I got in 2014, but I had an 8.5. It was a comic book haul number, it was the Christmas one. It might have been comic book haul number 7 or something like that from 2014, but now it's been upgraded. I had an 8.5 copy. Now I got myself a 9.2 of Batman Adventures 12, First Appearance of Harley Quinn. I don't remember what haul this one appeared in. It was probably one of the Ultra Batman hauls. This is like a 2.0 copy. Eventually, you know, as I upgrade books, eventually I'll get to Batman and Batman-related books. But here we have Detective Comics 184, First Appearance of Firefly. Here's another one. I think this was an Ultra Batman haul number 2. I don't remember. But here, and this is one I'd like to upgrade one day. We have Batman 49, First Appearance of the Mad Hatter and Vicky Vale. Cool Joker cover. One of the cool Joker covers. Here's a really good one. We have World's Finest, number 3. First Appearance of the Scarecrow. And this one appeared in comic book haul number 10, and it was also the same comic book haul where I announced that, my son James was going to be born. He was born 3 months later. Here we have same copy. Eventually it's going to get upgraded. Yeah, absolutely. Batman, probably maybe a 5.5 because these 5560. Batman 121, first appearance of Mr. Zero, who later becomes Mr. Freeze. Now, I've said there's a couple absent from this. Yeah, I have the first appearance of Deadshot. It's stored away somewhere. Eventually, I'm going to sell it and upgrade that. But probably one of the biggest Batmans that I have, the one that I really, really wanted for anybody, and it's right in the art of my video, is the first appearance of the Riddler, which is Detective Comics 140. Well, the reason why that one is not in this video is because I sent it off to CGC a couple of weeks ago to potentially see if the restoration could be removed. Now, I don't know if the restoration is going to be removed. Either way, it will be in hopefully the next comic book haul video where I get it back and I'm like, well, the restoration couldn't be removed, but here it is in its nice new slab because it's in one of those older slabs. Not the super old slab from when CGC first started, but kind of in the middle. Or hopefully the restoration was removed, which I expect the grade. It's a 3.5 restored. It's probably, I predict, if they can remove the restoration, it's going to go down to a 2.5. But 2.5 Detective Comics 140, I'll take that one. So that's why that's not in this video. Normally it would be in this video. So you'll have to wait till the next comic book haul, the 10th anniversary comic book haul, to potentially see the results, whether yay or nay. So that's Batman. Let's move on to the next category. The next category is signatures. Now, I have other signatures. I have Joe Jusko's signature, but it's on a poster. I'll take a picture of it and show everybody. But I do have other signatures in my collection, so this is not every one of them, but I just taken a few out that are very, very important to me. All right, we'll start off with this one. X-Men 137, is it? I keep forgetting it's 137. Chris Claremont. You remember that comic book convention I mentioned that I went to in 2014? Not the New York Comic Con, but the big one that I went and was looking for Daredevil 131. Well, this was the book that I purchased at that convention. And the only reason why I purchased this book was because I knew Chris Claremont was going to be there, and I'm just like trying to brainstorm something to get him to sign. At that time, I had X-Men 141 at home, so I wasn't going to buy another one. I wasn't thinking about upgrading that. So I was like, oh, well, let me see what book I could buy. And I bought a high-grade copy of this. And I said, well, I'll get him to sign this one. And I did. And he was very, very nice. Very, very nice. At that same convention, I purchased this because it was dirt cheap. Now, it's probably like a 5.0 copy. It looks very, very nice, but it has a little bit of staining on the back cover. So that's why I think it, and it goes through some of the pages. That's why I think it's a 5.0. But I got this signed by the legendary Neil Adams, who helped create this character. This was about a week before my son was born, back in September of 2015. And he was signing in Zap Comics in Wayne, New Jersey. X-Men number 60. And as you can see in the silver, Neil Adams. He signed a couple of books. I have a couple other books that he signed for me that day. But that's the one that I figured I would show. In 2016, I met James O'Barr, and he signed this for me. Crow number 1. I purchased that book in September of 2015. I met James O'Barr and had him sign that in April 2016, sent it off, and I didn't get that book back until about September 2016. It took a while to get it back. Those days, I mean, I don't know too much about it today, but those days getting the signature and all that stuff, I had it pressed too, so it took like forever. Now here are a few others. I got Johnny Craig's signature. Now, I don't have Johnny Craig's a famous EC artist. I didn't get his signature on any of the books, but I do have his signature on a piece of artwork and a letter that he wrote to somebody. So here is some original art by Johnny Craig. Again, it's not Tales from the Crypt related or original page or anything like that, but this is a drawing he did. And there's his name at the bottom. And here's the certificate from Roger Hill, who recently passed away. The Roger Hill collection went up on Heritage, for those of you that maybe were able to get a couple of books. I got a couple of books, but I got it before Roger Hill died, so from years ago. And these are some of the things that I got from Roger Hill a couple of years ago. And I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. Just seeing the original, you could see his the pencils and all that stuff, and just having the Singing Girl, that's what it's called. Singing Girl, pen and ink drawing by Johnny Craig. And this was certified in 2021. And here's a letter that Johnny Craig wrote back to somebody. I guess someone was trying to get some artwork commissioned and all that. But there's his signature. So that, to me, is a lot. That means a lot. 2 more. We have Stan Lee on just this old Silver Age, no big deal, Fantastic Four book. And there's a certificate. And this one right here, Fantastic Four number 7. Let me open it. I've showed this before on this channel. This is the last of the signatures that I'm going to show in this section of the video. Thank you all for staying so long. This is a long video. And sometimes I just don't like making long videos, but it's the anniversary, so what the hell. All right, let me make sure I do this without... It's a nice grade, too. Jack Kirby. I'm going to send this in to CGC, since now they do the verified signatures. I'm going to send this in someday. It's not next on the list, but it is on the list. Let's just put it to you that way. Verified Jack Kirby. And that's the end for signatures for this particular section of the video. We do have a couple more sections, so I do ask you to stay with me. We have Pre-Code Horror coming up next. I've talked about this in another video, my journey collecting comics, how it's changed over the years, how it evolved. But, when I first started collecting again back in 2013, 2014, I was just like trying to get X-Men books. And then I said, I'll start upgrading other things. And I started getting Batman books. But I would stay in superheroes. Never thought I would get into pre-code horror. Even though I love DC, never thought I would start collecting EC. In the New York Comic Con 2014, I purchased my very first Golden Age book, pre-code book, EC book, Vault of Horror 16. And I thought that was just going to be it. It wasn't like, I'll get some more of these. I was like, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. And that copy I said I sold to get this copy. Nice 5.5. The other one was like a 3.540. I think it was pretty much a solid 4.0. But this one came up and it was a good price. But anyway, what I'm getting at is, my tastes changed, and my comic habits evolved to where it only made not just upgrading books, but getting pre-code books, which made the hobby last a lot longer for me and makes it more enjoyable. So, what better category to have on a 10-year anniversary, not just on YouTube, but collecting, to show some level of growth and mindset change. Starting right here with wanting to collect pre-codes. So I showed you the Vault 16. This one right here I want to show, Tales from the Crypt 39. This was the first reprinted Tales from the Crypt book I read. Remember the Gladstone books that I got back in August 1990. A lot of things happened in the summer for me when it comes to comic book collecting. The Batman book, the Tales from the Crypt collecting, starting YouTube, all that sort of stuff. But that was the very first Tales from the Crypt book I read in reprint form. And it was nice to finally get the original copy. I got that in the summer, of course, 2018. This one I got in 2017. We have the Crypt of Terror, number 17. A 3.0 copy. Definitely needs to be upgraded one day. Not right now. Happy to have a nice 3.0 copy, but I bought this in, I think, October of 2017. I don't remember what haul that was. I remember some of the hauls. I remember the numbers, but just like in comic book collecting, after a while, the numbers start going over my head. This one was important, and I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about Luther Manning and Mike at the Heroes Con 2018. This was one of the big books that I bought from Dale Roberts at that hall. I think it was Mike that talked to Dale about me to try to get a little bit off this book. This was expensive back then, but it's obviously a lot more now. This is a nice copy. Eventually it's going to be graded. I don't know. I think it's a 6.5 because it has a crease on the back, but the front looks good, so maybe that will edge it out to a 7.0. I don't know. I say 6.5. Eventually it's going to go in, but yeah. The origin of Tales from the Crypt number 33, Origin of the Crypt Keeper. Tales from the Crypt number 20, the first time this is called Tales from the Crypt. Now, I mentioned earlier Tony Toth. Tony Toth really started bringing me in to when it comes to not only pre-code horror books outside of EC, but just this book in general. Journey into Mystery number 16. Vampire Transformation cover. Great cover. Thank Tony Toth for turning me on to that. And because of that, I started looking at other pre-code books outside EC, Atlas in particular. I knew of Avon, I knew of Charlton, of course, and some others, Standard. But I really started looking at Atlas. And this was one that caught my eye, and it just, boom, just opened the floodgate. And I started looking at other books, Atlas and non-Atlas pre-codes. But this was the one that really started to change everything for me. Mystic number 28. Great cover by Joe Maneely. Outside Atlas, outside EC, I found The Thing. Steve Ditko art. I want to upgrade this book, but I love this cover. It's not his first cover on The Thing, but it's a great one. CGC should reconsider and put something there and say, classic Ditko cover. One of the books that I love so much that so difficult to get. Men's Adventures number 26. Nice 5.0 copy. Going back to Atlas. Book that I've always wanted. I had a 3.0 copy, recently upgraded to a 6.0. Shock Suspense Stories number 6. One of the big EC books. Not the biggest, but one of the bigger ones. Probably my favorite zombie cover all time. I was turned on to this back last year. I didn't even know this existed. That was one of the great things about discovering Atlas and looking into Atlas. I'm still discovering and still finding out great covers. But this one, Mystery Tales, number 19. Not going to find a nicer zombie cover. And this is hard to get, especially in this grade, 5.0. And it's one of the bad boy books that was in the Seduction of the Innocent trial. Not easy to find. Probably a lot of them were destroyed. And the last two for this, I think, are kind of predictable. Of course, we have the first appearance of the Crypt Keeper at Crime Patrol number 15. And then a book that you've seen to death, not just on this channel, but everywhere else. But it's significant. Crime Suspense Stories number 22. Eventually, this will be upgraded to probably like a 4 or 5 because it gets pricey. And it might go to a point where I don't feel comfortable spending that much money. Or comfortable spending the difference between a 3.5 and a much higher grade. All right. We have 2 more categories. You know, you've been around for about 42 minutes, hopefully. We have 2 more categories. The next category is upgrades. I tell you almost every video, I'm constantly upgrading this and that and this, right? So these are some books that, you know, probably should have been in some other categories or would have been in some other categories because I had undercopies like 2014 or Comic Book Haul. But these really, and I just picked not too many of them, but these really belong in a category of their own because these were some nice upgrades that I was able to get over the last couple of years. So let me just see, I was just a little disorganized here. I thought I'd be a little more organized. Here we go. Better. So let's start. Of course, there's slabs. You hear me jostling up. Conan the Barbarian number 1. This is my 3rd copy. I started out with a 5.0 from the New York Comic Con in 2018. Got an 8. Wanted something that was a little bit better when it came to page quality. White pages. 8.5. Here we go. Love Conan the Barbarian. This is one that, you know, even though I've been upgrading for years, back in 2022 when I finally upgraded this book again, because this is my 3rd upgrade, and I might upgrade it again, who knows, really started the concentration of, like, upgrading books. Yeah, I've been upgrading books for years, but I've been mainly trying to get new books into my collection. Yeah, I've been upgrading ECs, but I've been trying to get the ECs that I don't have for many years. But this book was really when I started saying, all right, it's not so much me bringing in newer books that I never had in my collection, although I did, of course, especially with the pre-codes that I just showed you. But it was mainly focused on upgrading other books that I have in my collection. And it really started with this one, The Incredible Hulk, 181. I had... in 2014, never made it to a video, my original copy, which was probably like a 5.55, Marvel stamp, taken out, sold it on eBay, gone, bought a 6.0. Then bought a 6.5. No, then I bought a 7.0. Then I sold the 7.0 thinking that I was going to get the 6.0 pressed. It was a mess. But I've had multiple copies over the years, and then I wound up getting this nice 7.5. What's the next grade for me? I don't know. Probably an 8.5 white pages. Speaking of white pages, House of Secrets 92, first appearance of Swamp Thing. I had a 6.5, which was in that 2014 Halloween video. Wound up upgrading, thanks to my friend Mike, who I've mentioned several times before in this video. Upgraded to a 7.5 white pages. Here's another one that's been upgraded. It was upgraded back in 2014 from my 3.5 to a 6.5, and then I sold that and got an 8.5 giant size X-Men number 1. Probably could upgrade this book again to a 9.2. And the last one, yeah, like I said, not too much. I mean, because, you know, I don't want to spend too much time going over every single upgrade, but some important ones, right? One of the recent ones. This again was in Comic Book Haul number 1. It was my 4.5 copy, upgraded to a 5.5. Not a big jump. Eventually this will be upgraded again to probably a 6.5, but this one's a 5.5 white pager. Never thought I would have a 5.5 white page of X-Men number 4. And now we're going to get to the last category before we say goodbye. These are the heavy hitter Marvel books. All right, now we just saw some heavy hitters. No, these are the heavy hitters that I currently have in my collection. Of course, some of these are slated to be upgraded some sooner than later. But these are the big heavy hitters that I have right now. So we're going to go to heavy hitter Marvel keys. Thank you for sticking with me for so long. But I wanted to make this 10-year anniversary video special. And here we have Strange Tales 110 3.0 copy, first appearance of Doctor Strange. This is going to be upgraded to a 5.0, hopefully by the end of the year. If not the end of the year, shortly thereafter. 5.0 Strange Tales 110. I want to get. Right now we have a 3.0. This is another one that's going to be upgraded probably shortly after, maybe in 2025. This is a lower grade copy, a 2.5 copy of Tales to Astonish 27, first appearance of Ant-Man, or Hank Pym before he became Ant-Man. Yeah, this will be sold, and I'll upgrade to, I'd probably want to get like a 4.0, because that's probably all I want to spend on this book. And when I get past 4.0, going from a 2.5 to something like that's a 4.550, the difference in what I have to pay from selling this to fully paying for the other one might be a little too much. This is the only raw copy I have here. Fantastic Four #1. This is a lower grade copy, like a 1.8. Will it be upgraded anytime soon? Probably not. It's a little too expensive for me, or more money I want to spend right now. We'll see. Never say never, but I have it. This is a recent upgrade. Daredevil #1. 5.0. Got this from Mike. One of my... Wait, let me show you this one. Here's one. It's a restored copy. You know, I've often thought about selling it. Maybe one day I'll get an unrestored copy. Don't know. It's not really on a list right now. You know, there are books in my head that I want to get. There are books in my head that I want to upgrade sooner than later. This isn't on any of those lists right now, but we do have it. Incredible Hulk #1. This is probably one of my most beloved books, and a recent upgrade. I've had many copies of this over the years. You've heard my story if you watch my videos. We have an X-Men #1 5.0. And last, but most certainly not least, is Amazing Fantasy 15 2.0. Will this be one upgraded? Not anytime soon, but never say never. Might have to go to a 3.0 first. I don't think I could jump from a 2.0 to a 4.5 with this. It's just be too much of a difference when it comes to price. But as I said in previous videos, upgrading is like a ladder. There are sometimes you could jump up a couple of steps, but then there are sometimes you can only go up one step at a time. That's the way I look at it. Well, that's my anniversary video. I mean, I know it was a long one, probably one that you didn't want to listen to too long, but I thought I would show you, you know, a little bit of my history for this anniversary video. And you got a good range of books to see how my collecting has changed and where it's going, where it was, and all that stuff. So maybe this is a story that some of you can empathize with, that you have similar goals that I've had, similar feelings about the hobby, and how it was, you know, you came back to it, might have been on life support, and it was just brought back to life in a better way. Thank you all for watching this video. I appreciate all of you, and see you next time. Take care.